When did the full weight of the gravity of this pandemic set in for you? When they cancelled the Olympics. Early on, some experts were saying it wouldn't end until 40-70% of the population gets infected or vaccinated. That's when it hit home for me. I was like, wow, that's a big number. I'm a grad student studying physics. I was scheduled to go to the American Physical Society's March meeting to present my research, starting March 1st. It's the biggest conference in the world of professional physicists. 10,000 people from all over the world go every year. It's a great opportunity to get noticed and see where your field is going. I had been nervously monitoring the situation for a few weeks, worrying about this new disease. They put out several notices that they were still going forward with the meeting, right up until 3 days before it, when they abruptly cancelled it. I breathed a sigh of relief, even though I never got the cost of the plane ticket back. A month later I realized that the hypothesis I was going to present was *QTTERLY* wrong, and have completely revised that section of my thesis to reflect our new understanding. Dodged 2 bullets there. I live in New York City, so seeing images of places like Times Square virtually empty, relatively, was something else. When I was able to step outside and heard noises of nature all around me, no drones of airplanes, traffic, lawnmowers, etc., it was eerie. The first time I had to use an unapproved app on my phone so a family could say goodbye to my patient. It was emotional and more distant than it should have been. March. When I got off the train in Penn Station, and it was a ghost town. It was absolutely terrifying considering Penn Station is meant to be a central location for people. I'd never been to Penn Station at all hours of the day and night, and there wasn't a bunch of people running for trains, eating, shopping, etc. Manhattan was also eerily quiet beyond some sirens. When my boss called me into her office and asked me whether I could work from home as a precaution so that the entire department would not be paralyzed if somebody were infected. This was in March, I believe. I'm still working from home. For me it's when the whole thing kicked off. Went to Food for Less and almost everything was gone. This was at the start of the water/toilet paper craze. I'll never forget this random old guy next to me say we will get past this and everything will go back to normal. Probably one of the most real moments in my life. I study in a school that's known for not cancelling class. The city has been flooded, lightning storms, blackouts, everything you can think of, and the school was still open. When they said they were switching to online learning, I knew shit was going down. Almost forgot the teacher protests. Almost every single teacher in the city was protesting, and the damn school was still open. My wife may never see her 94-year-old mother in person again as she lives in a city far away. When a bunch of billionaires decided to willingly suspend the NBA season. People that process that much money don't just decide to halt ticket sales for their cash cow sports franchises without a damn good reason. When I hadn't been anywhere in so long, I finally had to drive to run an errand, and it felt like I was doing something illegal. I run past a hospital. Behind is a fenced off area for initial screening, and behind that, refrigerator trucks. Very early on, I saw a line of 7 to 10 gurneys, bodies wrapped, and 2 people in hazmat suits lifting a wrapped body into a truck with fog escaping. Sokol. This was late March. Pretty much from the get-go. I had just gotten to an island in the middle of the Pacific from being on a boat for a while. Borders were closing on us fast. The local government wanted all outsiders *OUTNOW*, and we had to make very important decisions very quickly. It felt like choosing your starting position in a zombie apocalypse or dystopian future game, but IRL. My mum is a nurse at the hospital where covered patients are treated. She's a diabetic specialist, but the wards are so overcrowded with covered patients she was forced to help treat them. I say treat because covered patients are being transferred from covered wards to normal wards, so the spread was uncontainable due to higher ups decisions. There were initially 12 patients. Yesterday they counted 97 in the space of a few days. She came home crying and writing her resignation letter because of the sheer demand and pressure she is under. She's terrified, especially being in her 40s, and with my dad having diabetes, DVT, asthma and other health conditions. She's terrified and I never want to see her cry like that again. I was out camping with my friends on spring break. On day 3, I get the notification that 2 NBA players, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, have contracted the coronavirus. 5 minutes after this announcement, the NBA announced the suspension of the season. My friends and I proceeded to watch the dominoes fall as everything began shutting down / postponing, and then we get an extra week of spring break, and then one of the shittiest educations we all have ever received. Early April when a former colleague who was 28 and perfectly healthy otherwise, caught it and died. That's when I realized that it wasn't just bad flu. One of my husband's law partners lost both of his parents, exactly 1 week apart. This happened 2 weeks ago. The funeral home gave them a discount. Today, my housemate was going to spend his Christmas vacation with his girlfriend in another state. He just told me last week, and he was really excited about it. Today he came into my room and said he wasn't going. I asked him if they had a fight. He said no, she had just died of COVID. She didn't even have it last week. I just feel numb. How could this happen so fast? On March 11th, in the United States a few things happened on the same day. Utah Jazz player Rudy Gobert tests positive a few minutes before a game is to begin. The entire NBA season is cancelled the following day. Tom Hanks announces a positive test result from Australia. The president that evening announces a Europe travel ban to take effect in a few days. I had been following the news very closely from late December and recently wrote a book about the biology and biotechnology of COVID-19 diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines. When we couldn't hold a service for my recently deceased grandmother, who passed at the end of August, local mortician didn't have a setup for a remote service. I live in a rural town. There was no proper goodbye. She was my favorite person in the world. The severity of COVID has hung over my head this entire time. I live with my family. Yeah, I'm that 40-year-old guy that lives with his parents and try to take care of them when I can. 3 people that are 65 plus live in this house. I also live with my sister, who is a few years younger than me, and treats the pandemic like it's the fucking flu, runs out and parties with friends etc. I'm stressed 24/7. It does not help with my PTSD, depression and anxiety. But the fact that she died without being recognized, I feel like I'm going to be haunted the rest of my life by the fact that my grandmother didn't get a proper send-off. She was a fantastic person. Edit. I didn't expect this many replies. Thanks to all that dropped a kind note in my inbox. If she knew what you all had to say, she'd definitely tear up. Edit 2. Thanks for the hugs award, stranger. Every day now is fresh new gravity. The worst of times beyond anything I could have imagined. Life was so good before, and I didn't appreciate it enough. In March when the WHO, World Health Organization, announced it as a pandemic, I thought to myself, oh shit, this is really serious. I'm baffled at how people treat it now though. With millions of cases and nearly 1.5 million recorded deaths total. Stay safe please. I work at a hospital. The Friday before we went into lockdown was the last day I worked in almost 2 months because my department was deemed non-essential and therefore we closed. I was alone in my office for hours calling all my clients, cancelling all upcoming appointments, and saying we would reschedule again when things opened up, not knowing when that would be. Everyone around me was in a frenzy, also cancelling every upcoming appointment. There were people wearing masks, In March, when no one was wearing masks, installing acrylic guards on every booth, and putting down black and yellow tape marking the safe distance between the patient and the booth, and creating lanes to make sure people coming in and going out didn't cross paths. They were putting up a huge tent outside to create an outdoors waiting room. Everyone had a very somber attitude because we all knew no one knew when we'd be back again. It seemed something out of an apocalyptic movie. When I walked through that door, not knowing when I would come back, and having seen all of that, it really hit me that this was unlike anything we'd ever been through. Very early in the year, I teach Chinese kids on the internet. They were getting locked down and telling me they hadn't left the house in weeks, so I started following the story. I was the crazy guy in like January, telling everyone this was coming and they better pay attention, and it wasn't just going to be a 2-week shutdown. Told you so. I had a few times. 1. When this went from feeling like I was scamming the system by being able to work from home to honing my working from home skills because this is not a 1-month vacation at home. 2. When I realized it's been so long since I have seen some of my friends that we have actually grown apart. 3. It went from raising a baby and a toddler during a pandemic to raising 2 toddlers during the pandemic. 4. Watching movies I have seen a million times to only be envious of their gathering together, all the while wondering when the next time will be that I can do that. 5. When I looked at my hours logged into Call of Duty and was like, dude, my high school self would be envious of my playtime. Each of these had a different type of resignation for me, in which I really noticed the severity of the pandemic